Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, Sports Illustrated named its Boxer of the Decade today. And of course, it was Floyd Mayweather. Oh no, wait, it's Andre Ward. Interesting, SI. Interesting. What do you think about it, Rachel?
Well, when I saw it, I was kind of like, oh. And so I went back in my head. I was like, okay, what's happened across the decade? And basically what that pick says to me is that the people at SI think that what happened from 2010 through 2019 in Andre Ward's career was a bigger deal than what happened in Floyd Mayweather's career. And I know that Andre Ward's career included kind of a long way off due to some legal disputes. And yeah, so it just surprised me. And I think that Andre Ward is an amazing boxer and has an amazing career. I mean, I think winning the Super Series, right, in his division, and then coming out and moving up in weight, and he's been dominant, right? And fighting Kovalev twice, and the second time definitively winning, that fight. I think it has been really good, but to put that up against Floyd Mayweather, I don't know. It was kind of surprising. So
yeah,
tell us about Floyd Mayweather and what he did over the decade.
Well, I'll give you reasons here why Floyd Mayweather is fighter of the decade. Shane Mosley, Miguel Cotto, Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, Conor McGregor. Those are pretty big wins on Mayweather's career. Now, I'll just briefly skim through Chris Mannix's article for Sports Illustrated. So let it be known here that this is Chris Mannix's opinion, who gets to give out Sports Illustrated's Fighter of the Decade. It's not as if a bunch of people from Sports Illustrated all voted or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. So this was...
So it is true that he's the Sports Illustrated Fighter of the Decade, but also it's based on one person's opinion, which is just information to have. Mannix basically argues that Mayweather only fought half of the decade because Manny Pacquiao, that fight was in 2015, and then he only fought on Roberto after that. Conor McGregor, and he throws the Conor McGregor one out the window because it's a mismatch. Which, I mean, he has an argument, and you can read it at SI.com. The problem with that analysis, I think, is that you're making a lot of little sudden. You're taking little things and are well, this doesn't count because of this. This doesn't count because of this. Where to me, Mayweather was the biggest star of the decade. Now, Mannix did put that in his piece. But he was also the decade's easily the best fighter, right? This was the last 10 years from 2010 to when he was active 2017. There was nobody ahead of Floyd Mayweather on boxing's pound for pound list. Even Andre Ward, as good as Andre Ward was, the fighter was. And along with that, it's not as if Mayweather wasn't active. I mean, I just said he beat Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley was a great lightweight and the fighter that moved up from lightweight to beat Oscar De La Hoya at welterweight. Miguel Cotto, another Hall of Fame fighter that Floyd Mayweather beat. And, I mean, you have to have a ton of bonus points for fighting the best other fighter of your era and definitively beating him in Manny Pacquiao in 2015. I know all the stuff around that fight. I'm aware of all that, but he did win the fight.
It's a huge
he
fight.
Always wins the fight, and we can always look at reasons why. Yeah. Well, this is why, this is why. But when you start doing that, you're not just accepting what is. And what I think is it's a slam dunk, for me at least, and I think probably for you, that Floyd Mayweather is the fighter of the decade.
Well, I think that you take into consideration, he was easily the best fighter, out there. And you mentioned the pound for pound list. Then you take in, I look at, financials, too, and, how much money he made. He clearly made, and then on top of that, everybody knows who he is. If I went out and said Andre Ward, most of my friends aren't going to know who that is.
That's the other thing, is, if I go ask all my neighbors, who was the fighter of the decade? They would either say it's Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao, which maybe isn't a great judge of that. But it is data.
It's a great judge of what name they know.
Right, and which kind of shows how good they were, right? How great they were.
It can be,
the impact they had, and on top of that, Fighter of the Decade, I vote on this for the BWA. It's a thing that everybody votes on. There's not a, they don't send you a list of criteria. So you're basically, when you make that choice, you're giving those people the criteria. So he names his own criteria. Chris Mannix is a great boxing writer. Names his own criteria and tells you why he assumed that he voted that way. I don't know.
And the reason why this gets a lot of attention is because Sports Illustrated is a really
I used to collect Sports Illustrated's
name, and
I still have some. I got like when Vander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson. I have that around here somewhere. Yeah. That cover, that was a big deal. Boxing was on the cover all the time back then.
It just surprises me that what's out there for Andre Ward like somehow outweighed everything that Floyd Mayweather did over the decade. And because I would even question, like, oh, you put Andre Ward over Manny Pacquiao? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even sure Andre Ward is number 2. You know what I mean?
Well, but like, I would say that
I would at least I would need to go through that data, so it's not something I'm just like, oh, for sure, I don't even need to think about.
Yeah, they're all good candidates. The other person is Canelo Alvarez, who really has a great second half of the decade.
Is clearly still active, but in his prime,
Here's another thing people do to Mayweather's win over Canelo. They always say, and maybe I might be guilty of this as well, because it is a little bit true, in that Canelo was only 23 years old. Yeah, that's true. He was only 23 years old. Canelo's a lot better today than he was back then. However, his progression and all the great things he does makes that win over Canelo look even better in my eyes, because you can say that Canelo was super young. Well, Floyd was super old at that time, too. I don't remember exactly how old he was, but it's not like he was 30. He was pushing it towards his mid or late 30s at the time. So I don't think it's entirely fair to knock that win. I think is a great win for Floyd Mayweather's legacy. So I definitely think that Mayweather to us, it sounds like, is the Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel Fighter of the Decade. I don't know how important that is to Floyd. I don't even know how important it is to Floyd to get the Sports Illustrated thing, honestly. I think Floyd is driven by a lot more things. He'll probably not like it, but there's plenty of good candidates. I am super interested to see how the vote turns out for the BWA award. That'll be interesting to see how everybody votes, because there's a larger panel of people. Right. And usually with bigger panels, you get closer to what most people think, right? That's how voting works. And so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. I'm also excited every time I see we have a new subscriber and when people like our videos.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching our show. Come back tomorrow.
And thanks for you that comment and talk to us in the comments. I really enjoy that too, because I often get different perspectives in the comments, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I just keep talking while Kelsey keeps trying to end this.